So
can we start burning HEX? Like, what is a way to make this, like, make the lower inflation without further monetary policy changes?
So the solution that I've talked to on Twitter, he's S-Load Maximalist about this concept. We've been talking about this concept for years now. Probably the only solution is to incentivize early end staking. If you had some type of protocol that had enough value that incentivized people who had pre-big payday stakes to suddenly basically cut their stake.
Wouldn't the price go into $2 do that?
Yeah, so things like that could, because like if you lose your big pay, I think the big payday stakes, like at about now, the big payday payout was equal to the principal, just from like some end stakes I've looked at lately. I'd have to check.
Like 100%, right?
Yeah. So, you know, and well, so if you look at there's a site that I made, earlyendstake.anvil.app. That actually is an early end stake calculator that you can paste in your address and see how much you get if you're early end staked. So one, just promoting your early end stake value as your liquid value, I think would do that too. Like even without any protocol, but just like making it more clear on the actual realizable value of your HEX stake. Because one way to think about it is that you, when you time lock your HEX, because the rule of thumb is that once you get halfway through, you can get your principal back. So one way to think about it would be, it's like if your stake is halfway through, like every day you're earning real yield, you can cash out at any time. And so once you're in that second part of the stake, so I think just like surfacing that information and further encouraging people to early end stake, and if there's like a way to incentivize them to do that, that helps to solve it, because that will clear out that big source of inflation that's highly problematic.
That might be one of the most bullish things I've heard all day.
Yeah,
like,
and
I feel like the founder and everyone else the founder and everyone else has this aligned incentive to make the price go up, because the price goes up, not only can they sell at a higher price, and encourages people to early end stake and reducing inflation and making a more healthy system and all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I mean, like, yeah, that's the like. That's the single big lever that remains, because I mean, you know, the OA staking cut inflation starting, like, that was issued as of whenever that happened. I think in April or March or whenever. But like the first 5 years, like that's the source that like directly impacts, because like think about the user, like think about that user and like the psychology of that user. If you bought early, you watched massive paper value, highly marked up, and then you've only seen it go back down to, like, I mean, stakes ending now, if you bought that very low, it's like you're still up like 10 to 30x, maybe even more. I'd have to look, but those users, so there's, you know, a couple hundred to a couple thousand users who are still up a lot, and they went through the whole psychological experience of like showing their staker app to their wife or their mom and like, oh, look at all this money we have. Like, oh, like it'll come out in 2026. Like, oh yeah, we're going to buy a house. We're going to, you know, do this. Like, we're going to do all, like, so there's that psychology, so that psychographic. And then there's also the people that got in like 2021, they believed all the narratives. They believed that Richard, I think in your words, he's a founder, genius, billionaire.
Genius billionaire founder. Yes, that
genius word. Billionaire founder. Yeah. And so they bought into that. They staked, like, okay, I'll stake for 5 years. And by then PulseChain will be out and we'll be millionaires and high yield. And so like those are that's the predominant source of HEX stakes ending in the next couple of years. And so like what do and their inflation was problematic, at least the pre-big payday ones. And so like there needs to be a big catalyst to counteract that. And so
let's talk about the different options. So we have, one is price go up so much that encourages early in stake. another, what you mentioned initially, was a protocol that would, I imagine that you were alluding to, that would provide some sort of value to be like, no, I want to give my HEX, I want to end my stake and trade my HEX for this, or if I end my stake, I'll get this much for doing it, or some kind of like value exchange there, where I'm like, I like this other thing that I can now sell in some way. A protocol, price go up. What are the options there for that to happen?
Yeah, so that, like, I mean, price going up, that's always hard to predict, because that's like, you know, yeah, like you can't predict when or why people would buy, but like to dig more into like a protocol that might burn it, you know, that could possibly be something where you mint a coin and the amount you can mint is based on the amount of penalties that you paid. And maybe there'd be, or, you know, maybe it's a coin that can only be minted by, like, if you want to really dial into the problem, you just make a coin that is mintable to people that have stakes that started before big payday that are still active, and ending them early. And then the amount of your penalty is like how much you can. So maybe something like that, you know, but it's hard to. Yeah. Like basically you'd log your stake list to the contract, and then you would end your stake, and then you have to log it, because like the ending of stake, you can't do that during another contract call, because it needs to come from your address. But, or maybe with 7702 there would be a way to do this, and once it would be 2 steps, but like to add the code and execute it. But basically you just submit a proof to the contract that that yesterday you had a stake that was from pre-big payday that was scheduled to end, and you nuked it. So, and then you can mint the coin, but then you have to drive demand to that coin. And like, maybe that's like something that, honestly, that would be a highly effective source of, like, if the OA was to use funds, if the OA just put out like a bounty that said, if you early end stake your pre-big payday stakes, and you'll get this reward that may be worth more than the HEX is currently worth on paper, but like less than like something, you know, that honestly could be
see, and people say you're bearish. Why we're coming up with some super bullish solutions right now? That's pretty good.
No one who's smart says I'm bearish. It's people that need validation and need a cheerleader. Like that's the people who don't need a cheerleader and who are thinking of solutions, they don't actually think I'm bearish. And me presenting solutions is not bearish, or framing problems.
I like it. I'm bullish as fuck right now. Yeah. Like bullish at AF, if chat can't tell. Like that's really good. I think we took the emergency end stake argument, which you had super good points on, and been like, okay, if that's not a good idea, what does make sense? And I think that's something. Yeah, could we see community build protocols on that? Will Dipcatcher go and build a protocol on that after the stream? We don't know. He tends to build a lot of stuff.
I have a contract that kind of does that, but I mean, it's like a lot more would go into it than that. But yeah, I mean, that's the one solution.